Welcome back, everybody, to All Things NBA from A to Z, presented by Ball is Life. I'm Chris Persianen here alongside Zach Noble, and we are in the midst of NBA Summer League right now, the off season, but we're over 2 weeks into free agency. Some signings still trickling in. We're way past the NBA draft, and Zach and I, we were thinking like, okay, we could give you guys our knee-jerk draft reactions and whatever, but the NBA has it set up in a way where, to me, it's almost worth it to wait until the signings settle in and you see how a team filled out their roster as a whole. Now, there are some TBDs when discussing today's topic, the biggest winners and losers of the 2024 NBA offseason. So we will address those too, our biggest swing teams that still have moves left to make. But as of today, as of July 15th, we're going to be talking the biggest winners, the biggest losers of this offseason. We're going to start with the losers so we can end on a positive note. Zach, who do we got first up?
This is tough because there's so many teams that I feel like could have done a little more. I just feel like there's so much parity in the NBA right now, and that's the first thing I ran to. Just who can do more? Who's not in that tier one contention that's close with the move and whatnot? And did they sign good enough players? Who'd they lose? That's what comes down to this. But honestly, this team got better. I think the Golden State Warriors got better this year. Believe it or not, losing Klay Thompson, huge piece.
They got better, but
That's
we're one of the biggest losers.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And I feel good about this.
Ah,
They got better. I mean, the bar is very low. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. What did they finish last year? The eighth seed or something? I mean, didn't even make the play in. Where are we at? I forget.
okay. All
Uh,
right. I understand. Okay.
the bar is very low. 46 and 36 last year. Uh, I think this is still probably a 48-50 win team tops, depending on how good Kaminga and Pods get. I personally like them. I think they have a good core, and if everything fell right, if Kaminga took this massive jump, Pods, they figured out the fit there because that's what I'm worried about with them. Like, there's like a minuscule chance this team could win. Like they're a tier two, tier three contender. Like I like the pieces that fit around Steph. But I just don't think Steph is going to be on that level next year. And I
Mhm.
don't think Andrew Wiggins is going to be the guy they need, which he's such a vital part to this equation right now. And so I just don't think they did enough. I think they should have made the move for Paul George. I think even Brandon Ingram, DeJounte Murray, guys like that.
I could
Um,
get Murray. Ingram, I don't get as much. Why do you
yeah,
say
no,
Ingram?
I just think he's
That
still an upgrade from Kaminga. I
But to me, that
think
feels
he's
like a name for the sake of a name. Like the Warrior system
correct.
is so aggressively about fit. And Ingram,
Yep,
I don't know if he fit. I feel like that's trying to put a square peg in a round hole.
complete, completely agree. But I do think Steph Curry fits with anybody. He's one of the few players that do fit with anybody. Draymond Green and Ingram, it's a little wonkier. Andrew Wiggins, I mean, it probably would be going out for Ingram, I'd imagine. Um, yeah, I think he'd have to. So then I think it would still be an upgrade if it was Wiggins going out, or Kaminga would be the tough one, the debate there for sure. But yeah, I'm pretty set on they're a loser. Even though they did get better, I just don't think. I think as long as you have Steph Curry and Draymond Green on your team, you still have to be trying to win to the highest level you can. And I they go
I get
Kyle
you.
Anderson. Are you seriously like
Oh, well, look, I'll sum
that
it
was
up
a
for you
blessing to me.
as we
That was
move on. Usman Garuba, Chris Paul, Lester Quinones, Jerome Robinson, Dario Saric, and Klay Thompson, the losses for the Warriors. They added Reese Beekman. They added Lindy Waters the third, and then the bigger names, Kyle Anderson, Buddy Hield, DeAnthony Melton. I think they got better, right? So I would just say they're maybe middle of the pack. Maybe you could say the lower side. Loser is strong for me, but then again, I picked this team to be the 1 seed last year, and they didn't even get a guaranteed playoff spot. So
oh my
that's
God, I forgot about that.
that's what I know about the Golden State Warriors. I am going to start off with my first loser, And I cannot tell you that this team got better. I'm just gonna put it straight up. The Los Angeles Lakers, when you have LeBron James on your roster, the expectations are high. To recap the Lakers' moves, they extended a qualifying offer to Colin Castleton. They extended Max Christie. They lost Spencer Dinwiddie, Harry Giles, Skylar Mays, and Torian Prince. Um, they also added Blake Hinson, undrafted free agency, Armel Traore, undrafted free agency, Bronny James, pick 55, Dalton Connect, pick 17. I thought the Connect pick was great value at 17. Like, I was a little higher on Connect, so I had him like top 10 caliber in this draft, top 20, 25 caliber in a normal draft, but that was just the range of this draft class. But that's a good pickup just talent wise for them. That said, if you're going all in on winning, if you've got Anthony Davis and LeBron James on your basketball roster and you're saying you're committed to winning, this is not acceptable. The reason I come down so hard on that is because if the Lakers were just honest, if they didn't always say, "Oh, we're going for the championship," whatever, like so many teams out there in the sports world just try to keep the treadmill of mediocrity going. That's okay. That's a way to run the business. It's a business. That is a way to run the business, right? However, this is a team that has high expectations, gets a lot of media coverage, and always responds to it by saying, we're trying to win a championship. We think we can compete for a championship. It's like the Brian Cashman, like, oh, we're right there. We're right there every year. We're right there. And they do not make the finals ever. So besides the championship they won an election cycle ago, I can't say that this team has done much since then. And I think I'm gonna call them a loser simply because of the inaction. It's not even like they took a swing and made a bad move. They struck out looking on a on a 0-3 count. Like I don't know. So that's kind of quick from me on the Lakers, but I think it's that simple. Dalton Connect, nice value add with the 17th pick in a weak draft class. Bronny James, if you're criticizing the Lakers for using the 55th pick on someone who hasn't looked great yet in summer league, you're either like a real sicko and you do this every year with the bottom 5 picks in the draft, or you are a hater. If you're a hater, that's cool. Just be honest about it. I hate when people are like, I'll be a hater towards the people that are like, all things considered, you'd expect to see more out of someone who's going to the NBA. Like, did y'all listen to Jared Dudley? He said there are going to be guys at Summer League that average 25 that do not make the league. There are going to be guys that average 5 or 6 that do. That's the reality of the NBA. Heliocentric offenses, you're looking for complementary players. I'm done nerding out. Zach, your second
All right.
offseason loser.
Most teams are still looking for their 55th pick and where they are in this world. And Bronny James is still looking for his first bucket in Summer League. I believe that's the case.
No,
But I'm with you, man. I'm
he
with
scored
you.
like right away. Come on now. Come on
His
now.
one, and then he missed his next 27 straight.
All right.
All good, but we won't get too far into the meme war, the meme hole with Bronny. Could take it a little too far here, but with that said, I do agree they are big losers, just like the Warriors. The unfortunate thing is they might have got the best player in the draft, in my opinion. I think there's a world where Dalton
What?
Connect becomes the best player. Yeah, that's call me crazy on that. I
You're
think there's a
crazy
world
on
that
that.
happens. Yeah. But regardless, it's not going to happen for a couple of years, and he doesn't provide the defense they need. And we've seen this core at their peak, and they're just not good enough. So, unlike the Warriors, where they got Kuminga and Pods that have a ways to go, and a Wiggins that we didn't see last year, I think just the Warriors have way more upside to expose. So I think that's why their situations are a little bit different, but both still losers in the same sense. JJ Redick does help their cause, though. I mean, that was a big win for them. My
Who's your
second team,
Yeah, I was gonna say, who's your
my
second loser?
the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young has got to be knocking on the door there soon. Front office, Landry Fields. I mean, building a team that I think Trae Young's going to absolutely hate. Going to be interesting to monitor.
Let's
You
go
can
over the moves quick. They lost Sadiq Bey, Trent Forrest, AJ Griffin Jr., Wesley Matthews, DeJounte Murray, and Dylan Windler. They brought in Dyson Daniels, EJ Liddell, Larry Nance Jr., Zachary Risache with the #1 pick, Cody Zeller, and they re-signed Vit Craigie and Seth Lundy. Yep.
well done. You gotta really. Do you believe in Jalen Johnson, Daniels?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Daniels,
I like Jalen
Daniels.
Johnson, but I think he's just
I had Daniels
a
outside of
fringe
the
starter.
lottery. I had Daniels outside of the lottery in his
I'm
draft,
the
but
biggest Daniels hater you can say you'll probably come across. I had him in the second round, to be honest,
oh,
in the draft. Yeah, no, I was so low on him, and like they got defense to fit around Trey now. I mean, that's nice, but I just don't think they have enough upside. I mean, and Zachary is going to take a long, long time. It's going to take about as long as his name is.
but I think
Um,
he can complement Trey from day one. Like he brings the shooting to the
sure,
table.
sure, they can compliment him on his way to 38 wins. Um,
Woo!
yeah, DeAndre Hunter though, like I personally think he's pretty close to his peak. Like I don't think we're getting a ton more out of DeAndre Hunter, and I'm not a big Kobe Buffkin guy. EJ Liddell, uh, this team, if you got rid of Trey Young and you just went for the youth movement, I'd believe in it a lot more. Um,
Is there
and what
gonna
they're
be like a
doing.
direction you're saying? Like
Yeah, oh
does
yeah,
this feel to
they're
you like the McAlbridges Nets?
absolutely, yeah,
Okay.
great. But the difference is Trey Young is worth the 5 picks.
Um, save
I
it for
said
another
he's worth
pod.
it to the Knicks. Don't get me wrong. He's worth it to the Knicks and
We'll
only
save
the
it for
Knicks.
another pod.
We've talked. Go back and check the tape, folks.
We'll
Who's your
save.
second team?
All right. My second off-season loser is the Miami Heat. Man, talk about the Lakers' last
Fair.
championship win, the team they played against, the Miami Heat. We'll recap quick. They lost Alondas Williams, Cole Swider, Orlando Robinson, Patty Mills, Caleb Martin, Jamal Cain, DeLon Wright. So from the get-go, it's clear that I'm not judging the Heat because of the players they lost, right? But here's what they did. They added Alec Burks, Kashad Johnson, Pelle Larson, Zion Pullen, Drew Smith, Isaiah Stevens, Khalil Ware, Bam Adebayo, Thomas Bryant. They re-signed Haywood Highsmith and Kevin Love. They re-signed. Now let me get this straight, okay?
Did you just
Kashad
name their G
Johnson,
League team?
yeah, pretty much. Kashad Johnson, Zion Pullen. For those two guys to be undrafted, those are really nice UDFA pickups for the Heat, okay? I think Khalil Ware is really talented. Good pick at 15 for them. Now, all that said, that's like how you evaluate like a 27 win team, like making good margin moves,
There you
right?
go.
If we're trying to take the Heat seriously, which we're supposed to be taking them seriously, they got Jimmy Butler, they got Bam Adebayo, they got Tyler Hero, right? Like these are guys that we're told by the media every year are super duper stars and, you know, like defensive player of the year out of bio and Hero 6 man of the year and Butler, like the sleeping giant in the NBA who starts trying in the playoffs and then is an MVP caliber player until he's knocked out. Like I just why do we care about these offseason moves? They're not enough for me to look at this Heat team and say, yep, they've got the juice to go on a run. They're going to run into a brick wall. Sixers, Knicks, Celtics, Bucks, Cavs, Magic, Pacers. This is not a top 7 team in the Eastern Conference. End of conversation for me. That's an offseason loser. They didn't do enough. If they're trying to maximize the end of the Butler window, if the Lakers are trying to maximize the end of the James window, they got a defensive big to accompany them. They didn't do enough.
I think the only way you can talk me into this team having a chance or they're doing the right things right now from a front office standpoint is if you truly believe Jaime Jaquez is going to be a dude. Like,
Great glue guy. Great,
yeah,
like
exactly.
high
Yeah.
end role player. The only way you can talk me into this team being serious is if you buy me 6 beers and like,
Yeah, no,
you
I'm
know what I
closer to that
mean?
for
Like,
sure.
how the hell are they gonna? I just don't like. I think it's good for the league when the Heat are good. I think it's fun. I think it's fun when Jimmy Butler's on a really good team. I think Adebayo deserves to shine. It's not going to happen with this roster. Let's get to positive talk. Zach, who's your first winner of the 24 offseason?
Yep, I'm gonna go with the San Antonio Spurs. Okay. You got their moves pulled up, or you want me to?
Of course, I got their moves pulled up.
I love
They
it.
lost Don Barlow, shout out Bergen County, New Jersey, Charles Bassey, David Duke, Devontae Graham, Raekwon Gray, Sandro Mamukelashvili, and Shetty Osman. Shout out Mamu. Shout out Seton Hall. Another New Jersey shout out. No re-signings for the Spurs, but they added 3 players that I think are going to be important for them. CP3, Harry B, and Stefan C. Castle from the UConn championship back-to-back winning Huskies.
Do think it's a great thing anytime you can get rid of a David Duke. But outside of that, I just think this team has the pieces to elevate their youth now. I think it's set up for a lot of growth. I mean, Harrison Barnes and Chris Paul are about as too good of a leaders as you can find in this league, and they actually fit and they're needed on this team. Like I was begging the Spurs to pick up any point guard last year, just to help Wemby out whatsoever. But it was amazing the year he had without a true point guard. That's what made me believe in this guy more than anything. Not having a true point guard and being as great as he was truly remarkable. But Stefan Castle, if he has any chance at being a point guard, like Chris Paul is going to get it out of him. Like that was the move right there.
He's
Because
got to
a lot of,
shoot. The rest, Chris Paul can teach him. The shooting, he's got to do on his own because that is
see, I don't
not.
think he needs to become a shooter when you have um, fucking Devin Vassell there. And
And
I
Wemby,
think
but
they,
Sohan's not a shooter. So you know, like how
no,
many non-shooters are you gonna play? It's tough, right? But I get what you're saying.
that's
Go on.
true. I do believe in Kellen Johnson's shot for what it's worth, but I don't know if they believe in him for a long term core piece.
Well, if you start CP3, Vassell, Barnes, Sohan, and Wemby, and you let Sohan be like a Aaron Gordon style connector more so than an initiator like he was out of necessity, that leaves you Stephon Castle and Keldon Johnson to play with the bench unit, and that's gonna be fun.
And on top of that, like I truly think they should have hung on to Rob Dillingham, and I think he's going to be worth the trade and more. I believe that the player is usually worth the picks, regardless if they're giving up a haul for him. But they got a great return for him, so that will set him up for when Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes, and they need to replace them with more youth
Those are going
here.
to be really useful in Wemby's prime. Like again, look at the Knicks with Jalen Brunson, right? They signed him, they didn't
Yeah,
draft
being
him,
able to
but
trade.
it was because they had other teams' draft picks that they were able to trade a first round pick for Josh Hart and trade 5 first round picks for Mikal Bridges. And these are moves that they would not have been able to make and still have some flexibility left in them if not for acquiring other teams' picks. So the Spurs, I guess, a necessary evil for them. But yeah, I really like calling them a winner overall.
Right on.
Love it. All right, let's go to my first team. My first winner to me is the easy one. If you don't see this team as a winner of the offseason, you're probably big braining it. Like you're probably being like, oh, they could have done better. Whenever people say they could have done better, I want like there's never names attached. It's never, oh, they should have gone for this guy instead.
For sure.
The Sixers losing Mohamed Bamba, Nick Batum, Rocco, Jeff Doughton, Tobias Harris, Buddy Hield, KJ Martin, D'Anthony Melton, Cameron Payne, Paul Reed, to Quavion Smith, right? So that is the losses for the Sixers. Now let's talk about who they bring in. Kyle Lowry, they re-signed. Tyrese Maxey, they re-signed, extended. Kelly Oubre Jr., they re-signed. They brought in Caleb Martin. They brought in Justin Edwards as a UDFA. They drafted Jared McCain in the first round. They brought in Eric Gordon because goddamn does Daryl Morey love signing his late 30s 2018 Rockets. And they added Andre Drummond once again as Embiid's backup big. And they got Paul George in free agency, a huge move for the Philadelphia 76ers. This cements them as being one of those major power hitters at the top of the Eastern Conference. Listen, man, I'll say this forever. Your path to the NBA Finals is like 30% luck. And that's injuries combined with seeding, combined with other teams' injuries. Like, as long as you're a top tier team, it's like 30% luck from there. 70% is playing the games, being a cohesive team, having multiple scheme versatility options to throw at teams defensively and offensively in the playoffs. But like, dude, if you get matched up against a team whose opposing star is out, like you may beat that team when you may not have before. And that happens all the time. It's part of the game. To me, the Sixers are in a position where they could make a run all the way to the NBA Finals. And that's kind of the, what they've got to do, right? They've got Maxey, they've got George, they've got Embiid. This is a fun, I guess, like on the spot trivia for you, Zach. When was the last team we saw have this good of a guard, wing, center, like traditional star trio? My mind goes first to like Parker, Leonard, Duncan, but Leonard wasn't a super
Ooh,
duper
that's
star back then. So when was the last team that had that kind of trio? Do you want to say it's like Rondo, Pierce,
Anthony
Garnett?
Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, and Carl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert. No, let's think about this. Outside of that, I mean the Rondo, Pierce, KG, that's a thing. I still would lean towards the Sixers there, but Ray Allen's the piece that obviously that makes that team much better.
I mean, I'm
Um,
thinking everything here. I'm thinking Nash, Marion, Stat. I'm going
that's getting
Sixers
too
over
far
the
back. There's got to be something more recent.
Durant, Harden, Westbrook. There's no center. I'm looking for like a
No, you're
traditional
you're
one,
the
three, five.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Um, Irving, James, Love.
The love part is what throws it off a little bit.
I know,
Um,
I
he's
know.
not so traditional. Yeah, the fits here are what's perfect and what separates these guys. Here's the thing.
If you want to fudge
Being
it
the
and go Curry, Green, Thompson, like,
yeah,
but back in 2015,
the
not
Spurs
last
the
year.
Spurs I would probably say the closest Parker, Ginobili, Duncan, or Kawhi. I mean, Parker, Kawhi,
Yeah, I
Duncan,
hear
if
you.
you
It's
want to
tough,
match them
right?
up verbatim. What? No, I was gonna go Toronto Raptors, Kyle Lauri, Kawhi, and then who would be the Jonas? No, who was the Ibaka?
Gasol, Marcus All.
Duh, there we go. That's a fucking good one. Uh,
Yeah,
that was a
right.
great one. A
No,
great
they
one.
were good. I loved that team.
But I want to say about the Sixers here. You chose the two best winners, so I had to try to find three and four. I agree completely. You got the two best winners here. But with the Sixers, the reason why this Paul George move is perfect for them, so vital to what they needed to do, is because they got Caleb Martin, because they got Jared McCain, because they brought Kelly Oubre back. Like they don't just have the big three. They've had this before in the past where they've had a good enough starting lineup to win it all. They have the bench right now. They have the depth to make up for when Embiid or Paul George
Yep.
inevitably go down. So
They stagger the big three.
they are the
Two.
clear number one winner this offseason, and it's not that close. They're the only team in the league for sure that should have paid Paul George the max, in my opinion.
Hmm.
There's very few of them. And that's
War
only because they got Caleb
Warriors,
Martin.
maybe. Um, yeah, I like it. Your second winner after San Antonio. Who do we got?
My second winner,
I know who I would pick if I were you.
it was tough. I wanted to go with the Wolves and the Nets. They would be up there, but I went with the New
Oh,
York
the
Knicks.
Nets is a good zag. That's a
The
good
Nets
zag.
won big time. They won big time. They just didn't win enough because they just got picks. It's not
Yeah.
that sexy. But
Knicks, baby.
anyways, the Knicks are a tier one contender now to me. I mean, yes, the backup big situation. I think they can overcome that, and it's not that big of a deal. I think that's
Achua's still out there, man.
right. Yeah. No,
They
I'm not too
lost
worried about it.
They lost Bojan, Charlie Brown Jr., shout out the A10, St. Joseph's, Alec Burks, Mamadi Diakite, I Heart, big loss. Daquan Jeffries, Shake Milton. They re-signed Jalen Brunson and OG Anunoby. They drafted Tyler Kolek, Ariel Porty, Pacome Dadier, and Kevin McCullough Jr. And they got Keita Bates Diop
My
and
guy.
Mikal Bridges. Campaign they also got today. That was the signing, today's news, the trickle in, 2 weeks after the start. So Campaign and
That
KBD,
deducts some big points, man. Big points for
Campaign
picking
and
up
KBD, the
campaign. You should
third
have stuck with
stringers.
Tyler Kolek.
But they're the third stringers. Kolek, they're not going to play Kolek in the playoffs.
Give me him over campaign immediately.
Uh-uh.
Give give me McBride. Miles McBride.
He's the second stringer,
Dante.
and Campaign's the third stringer.
I hope so. Campaign always finds his way into some bullshit minutes. He does.
And he hooped. Go look at game 3 against the Knicks in the
No, he
first
did
round.
fine.
Anyway,
He
go
did
on,
better.
go on, go. I'm interrupting. Go on, go on.
Oh, I'm with you. These Knicks, man, like I said, are tier one contenders now. I think the fit's perfect. It allows just Jalen Brunson to do what he does. He doesn't have to change anything. Um, I don't think they're gonna have as many problems as some people think with the Randall situation. I just think OG and Mikal fit with anybody. I think Dante can do just fine with pretty little usage. I think Dante's going to be, if anybody is, the question's out on anybody here from obviously what they did, but like that was kind of just by default what Dante DiVincenzo got to do. There's no way that a team was going to allow this guy to continue doing what he did in the playoffs, like on a contender, even though he definitely surprised the hell out of everybody. I don't care. You can try to move on from Julius. You can try to do something there, but I'm cool with the team as it is. I want to see this thing ride. And then the biggest thing that we haven't even mentioned, Jalen Brunson in that contract, NBA history, um, sports history. The only person that really compares to this is all the discounts Tom Brady took. It was that big, and regardless of what people think of all the reports out there, what he's for sure going to lose 37 million at least, and regardless, it's a risk. You can say, oh, he's going to get it up on the back end. No, he took a discount up front. That says a lot. And a salary cap game where nobody else does it. And I don't care. Like, this isn't going to impact every other player. Okay. It's not. Don't worry about the rest of the league. Just worry. Let talk about the positives and let this player get all the hype. Like, I will never bash a player for taking too much money, but I'm gonna praise the living hell out of a player for taking a major discount because he's a dog. He loves the city, wants to win, and the nepotism in the Knicks is incredible. You gotta love it. You gotta love the family tree. Like it's special.
Jalen Brunson, godson of Leon Rose, Jalen Brunson's agent, the literal son of Leon Rose. Um, that's the way she goes, folks. I mean, the, you
It's
know,
a fairy tale, man. Who wants to play with their best friends
also
and
like
family?
that's the thing that I think people are underrating is that it's not like Brunson is telling the Knicks like, "Hey, I don't care about winning, just go get my friends." Like every time they pick up one of his best friends, it's the right move on the court for the team. Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, integral acquisitions for the New York Knicks in regards to their success. Mikal Bridges, long known as like the perfect fit for this Knicks core. Just people didn't think the Knicks and Nets would make their first trade in 40 years, but here we are. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna go to my second winner um of the offseason. Listen, it is simple for me, even if sad because of Isaiah Hartenstein. But the Oklahoma City Thunder crushed it this offseason. They looked at where they were as a team. They said, we are good right now. Let's make the most of our cap space. Let's make the most of our assets. And they didn't even use their surplus of first round picks. They re signed Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins, two big pieces for that team's role player core. They lost Olivier Sarr, Lindy Waters the third, Muscala, your guy. They lost Keontae Johnson. Um, Gordon Hayward, Josh Giddey, and Bismack Biyombo, but they picked up Dylan Jones. They picked up AJ Mitchell, who is a stud, and they got Nikola Topic on ice. The two big ads, Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein. That is huge for this team. Listen, I know you didn't love the Caruso trade when it first happened, but you came around to it on that show. I think I kind of talked you into it a little bit, and Hartenstein is a great fit. I'm not sure if Hartenstein is in their closing lineup, but then again, that's the wonder of this team is
Big question. Yeah.
they've got like 6 starters. So it's all about scheme. It's all about fit. It's all about how the game is going. Let the game tell you what to do. Let the game dictate your next move. If you want to go small, put Chet at the 5. If you need to get big, Chet at the 4, I Hart at the 5. It's that simple. Jalen Williams, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, this team is flush with amazing young talent. Now the expectations are a little higher, but they weren't afraid to overpay Isaiah Hartenstein. I don't think it's a bad thing they gave him that contract. I don't know what else they were going to do with that money, right? Like there's a cap floor, folks. You've got to spend some amount of money. And I think to use it at a spot of need for someone who really fits your system. OKC loves high IQ, connective basketball players. iHeart is a plus passer at the center position or at any position. He is a top grade rim protector, just atop the board of defensive EPM like all throughout last season. And offensively, he's got that hook shot, that push shot. Like he's not just a rim running center. There's a little more to him. He even talked about getting back to some 3-point shooting ways. I don't consider him a 3-point floor spacer. But if left wide open, like I think he'll give you a 3 out of 10, which is enough for someone to close
Hey,
out
shot 47% a couple
on,
years back.
but on the volume was
Hey, don't
non-existent.
ask
So.
me how many he actually made, but
So yeah,
he
I
made
mean,
37 a
when it comes
couple
down
years
to
ago.
it, I do think that Hartenstein and Caruso is an amazing tandem of pickups for the Thunder. This makes them a contender. And it doesn't mean they're the best team in the league. It doesn't mean they're the best team in the West, but they're one of them. And like we said with the Sixers, that's all it takes.
Yeah, I completely agree on the Thunder. I just think that move with Hart brought him into tier one contention. I really do. Like Caruso got him really close, don't get me wrong, but I think getting more girth, like we've been saying that they've needed for the longest time, the size, a guy that can take the pressure off Chet a little bit and he can thrive in his skinny frame and be closer to KD than Rudy Gobert and Cat mixture type thing. So it is a big contract for Isaiah. I do think it's a little on the heavy side of things, but you're right. They needed to get rid of that cap space. It's it's tough to just throw it at random shit, and he's not random. They needed him. He was perfect. So at the end of the day, he's only 26. A lot of people get him mistaken as like 29, 30-ish.
No, he's so young, dude.
He feels like he's been around a long time. Don't
You
get
know,
me
you know,
wrong,
because
but
he was the G League MVP, then cup of coffee with the Rockets, then cup of coffee with the Cavs, then over to the Clippers, now with the Knicks. Like,
mhm.
this is the Thunder are like his 6th team if you count the G League. Um, so I get it, but he's young.
Yeah. The other thing you said is they have 6 starters. Sure, for the Thunder they might have 6 starters, but like for the NBA as a whole, I think they have like 8 to 10 guys that could be starters on teams. I think their roster's that good and that deep right now, and that's what makes them a tier one contender.
I hear you. I hear you. Listen, they're going to be good. They were already good last year. They addressed areas of weakness with good value, and they got better. I think it's that simple. Now, we talked about at the beginning of the episode, we'd close this out with the to be decideds, the TBDs of this offseason. I'm going to go first, and I'm going to say mine together because they're related directly. The Warriors and the Jazz. And the thing connecting those two teams, obviously, Lauri, Markkanen, the Finn, the finisher. Shout out to
Your
him.
boy.
Great player. And shout out to Teoscar Hernandez, who just won the home run derby. Shout out the DR.
There's
But
a thing.
listen, Lauri would be an amazing pickup for the Warriors. Point blank, right? They seem really interested in Brandon Podziemski. They want Pods, they want Kuminga, and they want Moody, and they want picks. This is classic Danny Ainge, right? Like that's how he deals. If I were the Warriors, I would say to them, listen, we're trying to maximize the end of Steph's career. We'll give you all the picks. We'll give you Moody. The Warriors have offered Moody and picks. I would say we'll give you Moody. We'll take away one swap or whatever, and we'll give you pods to increase the overall value of the deal. But you have to take it or leave it. And I'm not saying Kuminga is some, like superstar or all-star level player. But I think if pods is what's holding this up, I would just do it. Now, listen, because they'd be acquiring a forward, if you can get them to take Kuminga and Moody and you keep pods as your backup point guard, do that. I do that. Right. But I really do think Kuminga, I know I said it earlier with Sohan, but I think Kuminga can be like an Aaron Gordon style big player on a really good team one day. The thing is, the Warriors are trying to be a really good team right now. And so Curry, Melton, Wiggins, Markkanen, Looney, right? And then you've got Buddy Hield on the bench. Like I like how that team would look if they can pull off a Lauri Markkanen trade. If they can't, we talked about it earlier. They probably won't be too incredible. But if you get Lowry and then your bench unit is Buddy Hield and Kyle Anderson and Brandon Podziemski, maybe if you keep
Nasty.
him, or
Nasty.
like, or then if you send pods but you keep Kuminga, like this is gonna be a good team. So for what it's worth, if I'm the Warriors, I really push for this. I really try to get it done. Um, and if they don't get it done, they're not a loser of the offseason to me, more so than the Lakers or Heat, because they did do something at least.
I agree.
But
I agree.
they're not up there as like a winner. Now, the other side, the Jazz, if they can get a huge pick haul and good young players for Lowry, Markkanen, you've got guards in Keontae George and Bryce Sensabaugh and now Isaiah Collier that are going to need a little bit of time to develop. Taylor Hendricks, raw player. He'll be good, I think, but he's going to need time to develop as well. So, for the Jazz, if they can get picks and push their timeline down a little bit, then they're not going to cap themselves at having, like a ceiling of like a Trey Hawks or Mikhail Nets where you've got one stud player and the rest kind of stink. Guys that are good in their roles or whatever, but no star power. Um, So I do think that if you are the Jazz, you want to just make the most of this Lowry Markkanen deal. Don't be sticklers over like one first round pick. If you're getting Podziemski and Kuminga, or you're getting, you know, Podziemski and Moody and Pods is who you really want. That's it for me. Those are my TBDs. Zach, who do you got?
I think those are good TBDs. I wouldn't classify the Warriors in that category because I think their team is good enough. Like I said, it's just you got to really, really believe in Kaminga and Pods to get there. And I see a world where that's possible. But I also think just by my interpretation of their front office, I don't think they're that aggressive. I think they are pretty happy with the moves they've made because I do really like Melton. I do really like Buddy Hield for that team. Um, and like I said, they got better from last year for me. Uh, but you're about as high on Lauri as anyone. Do you think that makes them a tier one contender if they got rid of Kaminga, let's say, or if they just got rid of Pods? How do they do this and become the best? Obviously, they don't get rid of either, but let's say they got to get rid of one of those guys. What makes their team better in your eyes? And would you give up both? Would you give up if you actually have to get the deal done? If you're down there, obviously you're gonna fight, scratch, claw to give up neither of them and to maybe give up one. I obviously would prefer Kaminga, just because I think the wings and the defense is way more vital, and you got Anthony Melton and Buddy Hield to overcome Pods, even though it's a little different. He's a playmaker, and you need his passing and whatnot. Um, I don't think he should be a need for the Utah Jazz, to be honest. I don't think Pods should be a dude that they care that much about. You'd be good, don't get me wrong. Like, I look at him more in the Jaime Jaquez area of like upside. I think those guys have similar ceilings. Um, I think Pods is maybe slightly higher? Yes, I do because of the usage. But like I think it could be close.
I think it's tough with
Depending.
Pods, right? Because like, okay,
I
here's
don't
the
think he's gonna
thing.
reach his ceiling in Golden State, is what I'm
Not in
saying
Golden
too.
State. I love. Okay, there's the. I really like that take. Like he needs reps, right? He needs reps to make the most of his career, and like it's not like he's cooking summer league defenses right now. Like if he's your secondary ball handler, if you're high enough on him that you're gonna start him with Curry, you know, like he's gonna have De'Aaron Fox guarding him, or he's right. Like I don't know. Right? I know that's a specific matchup, but like I just don't think that nah, I just don't think that when you're looking at Podzemski, you're looking at someone who is like, star equity, whatever.
Yeah, I think
Um
he's a high end starter, or not even high end, a good starter,
yeah.
good
So
starter.
there you go. Like
Ceiling.
I think that
That's where I say
I
the
would trade
Hawkes
him. I
comp.
would trade him. Yeah. I would trade him
Glue
to
guy.
I would trade him to Utah for Markkanen. If it's
But would you give up both? That's the
if it's
question I wanted to know from
Podzemski
you.
and Kuminga and 3 unprotected first round picks, and you think this puts you in a title window, you have to do it. But I don't know that that would put them in a title window. The question though is what other move can they make? They need to be honest with themselves. Are
He's the
we
best
going to
player
give
available.
yeah, are we going to give Steph the best chance possible, or are we kind of okay on the treadmill of mediocrity? If they're okay on the treadmill, do not give up those two guys and unprotected draft picks. Don't do it because you're so screwed once Curry starts winding down. Um, but if I were them,
I'd
I
give
would
him up
say
and 2 picks. I would, but
I
I
would give
obviously would
both up
prefer to
and
keep
and
one.
3 unprotected firsts if you think you
Yeah, what's the
either
difference? 2 and 3, right?
right do 3 with the two
But
guys if you think one
yeah,
of two things. One, no
give me
matter
Colin
how
Sexton back.
no matter how good you would be, you want to give Steph the best chance possible to close out his career. Or two, you think this is enough. So if you think either of those things, if either of that is your mindset as the Warriors, you do it.
I do think the Jazz have to get rid of him. I do. I think you have to tank for these upcoming. Like you got to get in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes, and you're not going to be in it if you keep him. I think you got to deal him at some point. That's why I think the Warriors can be a little patient. Obviously, you want them before the year. Yeah, but you can wait the summer out. Could be like a Harden Nets type of thing where it's 5, 10 games in, but that still sucks. You want to get it done the off season.
I
Don't you
hear
think the
you.
Jazz got to do it?
I think they should. I don't think they have to. I think they could wait in season. They could wait until
Pretty
the
early in season,
okay, sure, November, whatever
right?
that.
Or you just think they're gonna suck regardless.
They're gonna suck regardless.
Yeah,
No, but
it
they'll
could be
they'll
right.
they'll
I
be like
mean, I
feisty.
just
But
think
whenever people are trying to sell a team to you as feisty and fun, like book them for less than
you do
40.
that on every team.
But I say they're gonna suck.
You're a feist. You used
But
the
I
word
say
feist on every team last year in our preview, I think.
but I said they weren't. I didn't say they were gonna be good. Like I said, the Nets could
No,
be feisty.
that's
I didn't
fair.
say they'd be good. They weren't good. They stunk. All
I
right.
just think they have a really good coach,
I love Hardy.
and
Hardy's really good.
yeah, I think he can just get a lot out of a little and surprise some people. And the team's getting better, and they won 31 games last year with a shittier version of what they're having this year. I'll tell you that.
Uh, you know, whatever.
All right.
You gave 2 TBDs, or are we still waiting on one for you?
Nope. I got 2 TBDs. So the first one, Chicago Bulls, they were so close to being winners because they finally picked a direction. I'm very proud of them, but they still need to get rid of Zach LaVine to fully be out of the TBD. Like they have to get rid of him. You can't have Kobe White. You can't have Zach LaVine together and Josh Giddey. You can't have those three together. So I don't care if you got to dump a protected first. You got to get rid of them, but you shouldn't have to. It drives me nuts. You shouldn't have to do that. Um, Bradley Beal kind of was similar, but they still got a couple seconds out of it. I think get some seconds. But yeah, you got to get rid of them, and then they become a pretty good winner to me. I like what the Bulls have done, and Matas Buzelis looks incredible right now. I love what he's doing. My second one, TBD, would be the LA Clippers.
Yeah, that's a good one.
They might just be trying to sell tickets, but kind of like yours, these two teams
New
fit.
arena.
Like you got to get rid of Westbrook, PJ Tucker, and Bones Highland, and that's enough salary to get back Zach LaVine.
Is it?
So, no, you need Norman Powell. Sorry, you got to throw Norman Powell in
Oh
there.
no, the MVP of team, all first team.
It's a
Zach
big deal.
Noble.
Don't get me wrong; it's a big deal. He's the veteran leader that Chicago Bulls need, but he can be that veteran leader as the seventh man. He doesn't need to. He'll be fine coming off the bench, or they can trade him for a first round pick somewhere else. But yeah, that's such a no brainer trade for both teams, in my opinion. Um, PJ Tucker, I've done it many times. PJ Tucker, Bones Highland, Westbrook doesn't need to be in the deal, but he can. And then Norman Powell for Zach LaVine. Just get it done. Get it over with. Waive PJ Tucker. Go let him do whatever. Or keep him if you want some dogs in there to rough these young dudes up. And Norman Powell, like they're great vets. And trade them at the deadline or whatever. But they won't need to start. Neither one of those guys need to start. Like you can't for the last time, you can't have Kobe White, you can't have Zach LaVine and Josh Giddey in your starting lineup. That's awful and terrible
Well,
for development.
they're gonna stink no matter what, so they might as well make the most of it and move LaVine
And if
and
the Clippers do that deal, they're better than last year. I will 100% say that. As long as LaVine stays healthy.
oh, we'll revisit
If they
that.
do the deal I just said,
How about that? There's your teaser for another pod. We will revisit that another time. That's gonna be a 20-minute conversation. We can't do that tonight.
do you prefer LaVine or Brandon Ingram for him? Last question of the show.
For the Clippers,
Yep.
shit.
Obviously, you'd probably have to give up a first for Brandon Ingram, but
But they
the
have
Clippers would
you know
probably have
what?
to
You know
go into the
what?
cap deal too with
I'll
him.
say Ingram because he like can kind of play make for others, and then when Kawhi misses his inevitable games, he can play that role poorly but play it. So I guess Ingram. But if Kawhi was not injury prone, I might go LaVine. Like LaVine has become underrated as a player. I don't think he's become underrated as an asset. Like people are right that you should not be giving up assets to go overpay Zach LaVine. Um, but NBA fans always conflate overpaid with bad. And like, I don't know. They're two different things, you know? But with the CBA, these apron penalties, bro, if the Phoenix Suns keep their team together the way it is, they'll have their 21,
They're in trouble.
2031 and 2032 draft picks frozen, or 2032 and 2033 draft picks frozen and not able to trade them. And the 2031 pick, no matter where they end up being able to pick, they'll be picking at the end of the first round. Who the hell signed off on that? That's so insane.
New ownership, baby.
Topic for another
Yeah.
day. Shout out to y'all, everyone who's still tuned in. Thank you so much. Share with a friend, thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment. If you're listening to this pod, not watching it, did you know they're all on YouTube so you can watch the faces we make at each other's takes? You can subscribe and thumbs up. If you're listening, though, drop us a 5-star review, add to the crew, and leave a review down below. Shout out, everyone. This has been All Things NBA from A to Z, presented by ballislife.com. See you next time.